Hey there, guys, and welcome to week 92 of World War II, May 30th, 1941. Sink the Bismarck, the pride of the Kriegsmarine's demise. Honestly, with how much the Bismarck gets talked about, literally any other time you watch things regarding World War II, like series regarding covering the whole of World War II, especially in the American zeitgeist. Bismarck is talked about so fucking much. But before we dive into the video, I also want to give an update. This video and the next 7 may be the last videos you see from me for quite some time. I am going to be taking a break. My mental health is atrocious. Like, really, really bad. So, I think I'm going to take the absolutely stupid decision and stop uploading videos for I don't know how long. We'll see. I'm not going into this break if it remains a break or if it turns into a permanent stopping. I don't know. But with everything that I am trying to do in life, this occupying at least 4 hours of my time every weekend just is not worth it. I'll make, for every 4 hours I spend here doing on these YouTube videos, is maybe in the 10 to 20 bucks range is what I'll get out of it. Like, I haven't had if I had more videos do as well as that that first reaction to Warhammer 40k, or like not even that well. If I had videos hitting like just 20,000 consistently, 20k views consistently, it'd be a different story. But my average is around 300 views for a video in 24 hours, in its first 24 hours. So, that's just, it really is not. Maybe I should have stopped sooner. I don't know. Maybe I'm just dragging a dead animal here, and dragging this on for too long. But, yeah. My goal is to still finish this World War II series. But right now I am extremely burnt out and in very poor mental health. So, I'm going to take a break from YouTube for a time. Just try and get a little bit more relaxation in my weekends. So, yeah. Anyways, let's dive in.
You chasing it now? Cool. Hey, with how many ships? 68?
Jesus.
Wow.
I don't know it was that many ships.
May 30th, 1941. There is fighting on 3 continents this week, but this week will be remembered to history for just 3 words from the high seas. Sink the Bismarck. I'm Indy Nidell. This is World War II. Last week, the Battle of South Shanxi continued in China. The British effectively won the fight for East Africa, but on Crete, the German invasion has them already thinking of evacuation. Also, the German naval adventure Operation Rheinübung began last week. This is a commerce raiding operation by the German heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen and the battleship Bismarck. They will be able to refuel and rearm on that journey thanks to a network of tankers and supply ships as far away as the Cape Verde Islands and the Labrador coast. Admiral
How'd they set that shit up?
Gunther Lutyens, who commands the operation, wants it delayed until either the Scharnhorst can be repaired and join them, or Bismarck's sister ship Tirpitz can do so. Grand Admiral Erich Raeder refuses to do this. His reasoning for this is that Operation Barbarossa, the impending German invasion of the Soviet Union, is not going to really involve the Kriegsmarine, the Navy, and he wants a big success before then with the Bismarck, so Hitler will not cut the budget for capital ships. The British, for their part, are eager to destroy what they can of the German surface fleet when they can. At Scapa Flow, they have the battlecruiser Hood, for over 20 years the pride of the Royal Navy, the carrier Victorious, the battleships Prince of Wales and King George V. To the south of Gibraltar, they have Force H, which we've seen a lot of, which has the carrier Ark Royal and the battlecruiser Renown. They also have other battleships and battlecruisers at sea in the Atlantic. Well, Eugen and Bismarck set sail in the Baltic last week. They entered the Kattegat and then the Skagerrak and were spotted off the southern coast of Norway by the Swedes on the 20th. The Swedes told the British Admiralty the next day, and the hunt was on. The German ships were in the North Sea by then and planned to break into the Atlantic the 22nd. The British sent the Hood and the Prince of Wales to the Straits of Denmark, where they already had two cruisers, the Norfolk and Suffolk, on patrol. The Straits are the waters between Iceland and Greenland. And on the other side of Iceland, the cruisers Birmingham and Manchester were on guard. The King George, the Victorious, and the battlecruiser Repulse joined the search. On the evening of the 23rd, as last week ended, Suffolk sights the Germans and alerts the Admiralty. Both Suffolk and Norfolk escape into the fog, but then shadow their quarry using radar. Just before 6 in the morning on the 24th.
Okay, I was wondering whether or not we were going to get the full detailed, chase here from this series. And we are.
The Battle of the Denmark Strait begins as the Hood and the Prince of Wales arrive on the scene. The British ships target Prince Eugen, traveling in the lead, but both Germans target the Hood. It takes a hit from Eugen, which starts a fire, but then one of Hood's magazines explodes, probably from a direct hit by the Bismarck, but whatever it is, it rips the whole ship open and it sinks in just minutes, killing all but 3 of the 1,004.
Oh. The PTSD from that, your whole crew, you're one of 3 survivors out of over 1,000 or whatever. How big was the crew, did he say?
Whole ship open and it sinks in just minutes, killing all but 3 of the 1,417 man crew. Prince of Wales takes a few hits and then withdraws under a smokescreen. Bismarck's captain wants to pursue, but Lutyens won't let him. The Bismarck has been hit 2 or 3 times by the Prince of Wales, and one of the hits near the hull has caused a pretty serious oil leak. Instead of continuing into the Atlantic, the ship will go to Brest for repairs, drawing off pursuit, and Prince Eugen will continue the operation alone. 2 lines of U-boats, one in the mid-Atlantic and one west of the Bay of Biscay, are set to aid the Bismarck. The night of the 24th and 25th, the shadows lose track of the Bismarck. But Lutyens, not realizing this, breaks radio silence and messages home. The British can now roughly triangulate his position and send planes out hunting. It takes them time, though, to figure out that the Bismarck is heading for Brest. And by the evening of the 25th, the ship has escaped the British and is ahead of them. Okay, it has had to reduce speed because it's now short of fuel, but it is still plenty fast. But the ships from Force H are heading north to intercept. At 10:30 a.m. the 26th, a Catalina flying boat spots the Bismarck, 1,100 kilometers west of Brest, too far away for Germany to give it air cover. After that, swordfish torpedo bombers from the Ark Royal accidentally attack the Sheffield, thinking that it's the Bismarck. They don't damage it. Then a second attack of torpedo bombers from the Ark Royal jam the Bismarck's rudder. Lutyens radios home at midnight that he can no longer maneuver. At 8:47, the morning of the 27th, battleships Rodney and King George V attack. They manage to knock out most of Bismarck's guns and start a few fires aboard ship, but they themselves are running low on fuel and head for home. The heavy cruiser Dorsetshire arrives and scores 3 torpedo hits on the foundering ship.
They're just bullying the ship, man.
His own sailors set scuttling charges. The Bismarck, the pride of the German Navy, capsizes and sinks at 10:40 a.m. Over 2,000 men, including Admiral Lutyens, die. To do this naval action, the Royal Navy has deployed 6 battleships, 2 aircraft carriers, 3 battle cruisers, 16 cruisers, 33 destroyers, and 8 submarines.
Jesus Christ.
Prince Eugen heads into the Atlantic and refuels, but develops engine trouble and has to head for Brest itself, arriving 2 days from now. The operation, even with the destruction of the Hood, is a total failure, failing to sink, let alone sight, any British merchant shipping. Another failure this week is the Allies' defense of Crete. By the beginning of the week, Germany had managed, largely because of Allied errors, to take the airfield at Maleme and bring in mountain troops by the thousands. British and Dominion forces had held them off at Retimo and Heraklion, but have not themselves broken out. And by the middle of this week, it's a stalemate there. Their garrisons, ignorant of the sequence of disasters at Maleme, assumed that they had only to hold on and the German invasion would die on its feet. Once again, the lack of wireless had proved a great weakness. On the other hand, Kurt Student, who planned the German airborne attack, arrives the 25th to find half of Flieger 7, his brainchild, dead.
Ooh.
There is still plenty of fighting as the Germans advance across the island, but the writing is on the wall. Allied Commander Bernard Freiberg tells Middle Eastern Theater Commander Archie Wavell, the morning of the 26th, that Crete cannot be held. The evacuation, yet another British evacuation, begins the 28th. Australians, New Zealanders, the Ley Force, some Spanish Republicans all fight a rearguard against the advancing German mountain troops. Fortunately, the 27th is the last day of heavy German air attacks. Most of the planes are taken away after that to prepare for Germany's upcoming invasion of the USSR. There are, though, planes that drop warnings for the locals of severe reprisals if resistance continues once the Allies have left. The British may be losing in Crete, but they are winning in Iraq. On the 27th, they begin their advance on Baghdad, the capital. On the 30th, Rashid Ali al-Gailani's government, which seized power at the beginning of the month, flees the country. Jamil al-Madfai will return from a month of exile to take over as Iraq's prime minister. The regent Abdallah returns to the throne, and the Anglo-Iraqi war comes to an end. The British are making plans of their own for a return, though, to the Libyan deserts. On the 28th, Wavell issues his main orders for Operation Battle Axe, set to begin June 15th. See, this week, the British Chiefs of Staff are reporting to the government that some sort of military action is necessary to secure the Allies' northern flank in the Mediterranean. Germany occupying Crete could soon allow the Germans to supply Cyrenaica from mainland Greece. And for that supply or the one to Tripoli to be stopped, or Malta to be maintained, the British would have to be established somewhere between Sollum and Derna. At the same time, the Prime Minister badly needed a victory to offset the succession of defeats in Greece and Crete, and to counter the enemy's distracting activities in Iraq and Syria, to justify the risks taken in passing the Tiger convoy through the Mediterranean, and to encourage the Australian people by the relief of their soldiers besieged at Tobruk. Though the Anglo-Iraqi War is limping to an end with a British victory, it has been yet another thorn in the British side. And as for Syria, François Darlan, Vichy French head of government, has been negotiating Paris protocols with Nazi German ambassador Otto Abetz. These are to give Germany military bases in Syria, and also in Tunisia and French West Africa, and in exchange, a bunch of French POWs can come home, and the occupation cost the French have to pay the Germans will be reduced from 20 million Reichsmarks per day to 15. German military bases in Syria could be serious bad news for Suez and Egypt. These protocols have not been ratified, but Charles Hunziker, Vichy Minister of War, whom you may remember from last May,
I do remember this fucker. I do. On site.
Sent orders weeks ago that German and Italian planes can refuel in Syria, and German planes did do this en route to Iraq. The British have been making aerial attacks against these planes, and the Vichy French claimed to shoot down a British Blenheim on the 28th. The British have blockaded Syrian ports, but a telegram from Paris to German Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop earlier this month reads, "The French government is prepared to grant German and Italian aircraft the right to make immediate landings in Syria, to supply them within the time limits possible, provide protection by French vessels for German supply transports by sea, to transmit to Germany reports received by the French High Command on English military forces and war measures in the Near East, to comply with any other German demands for support of military operations in Iraq. In consideration of these French contributions, and with a view to strengthening Syria's defense against England, the High Command of the Wehrmacht is prepared to authorize a number of measures for the military strengthening of Syria." On the 27th, the Vichy and Nazi governments agree to a buildup of French AA guns, anti-tank guns, and artillery in Syria. General Henri Dance is commander of the Army of the Levant and the defense of Syria. And though he has always claimed that Vichy France is an independent nation that makes its own international decisions, the British are having a hard time now believing that. The situation in Syria is worrying for Wavell, but he doesn't want to attack there and dilute his forces in North Africa even more, even though he thinks he may have to and is making the plans. For now, he does have some other worries about Operation Battle Axe. He's got all these tanks that arrived the other week from Britain in Operation Tiger, and that's great, but now he finds that the Matilda tanks break down a lot, and they're vulnerable to German 88mm anti-tank guns. The Germans also have better armored cars. He reports these misgivings to the General Staff on May 28th. Those long-barreled 88mm guns are a big deal, actually. They're not just anti-tank, they're also anti-aircraft. They're so powerful. Their 10-kilo shell, just one, can take out a tank at over 1.5 kilometers. And they're also both pretty rapid firing and pretty accurate. German Desert Commander Erwin Rommel only has 12 of them total, but depending on how they're deployed, it can make a real difference. Well, that's all about fighting that may break out. There's fighting coming to an end this week. That's the fighting in South Shaanxi province in China, active the past couple of weeks, though it has been less and less so, and ends on the 27th. The Japanese strategy to envelop the enemy forces by completely blocking their routes of retreat with advanced forces, and by taking advantage of the already existing positions on the front, the natural obstacles of the Yellow River, and breakthrough actions from both flanks, has been semi-successful. While a lot of the nationalist forces did manage to slip away, a lot more did not. So while by their own criteria of success, the battle was a failure for the Japanese, in terms of the tens of thousands of casualties inflicted on the Chinese nationalists, as many as 100,000, it was a success. Though the Japanese did take around a fifth of their own total force as casualties themselves. And that is the week, fighting in Iraq, China, and Crete, plans for Syria and Egypt, and a British loss and a German loss at sea. That last has to be a mixed bag of feelings for both sides. The Hood lost with a single shot. The Bismarck, the most advanced battleship Germany has built, sunk before it can ever sink any merchant shipping at all. Just like that,
kind of was a failure.
both navies are reduced. And last week, Britain's Mediterranean fleet took some serious damage from the skies. It must be painfully obvious to all by now. The age of the battleship is over. If you'd like to...
The age of the orc has come. Oh, it was week 92 of World War II, May 30th, 1941. Sink the Bismarck, the pride of the Kriegsmarine's demise. This was an okay week. Again, another week of things happening, lots of things happening. Made it kind of hard to follow, but also maybe it's just my mental state. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the video. Peace.